Nashville's Morning News, along with Johnny B, Ken Weaver, Dan Mandis here. I want to welcome on into the program. Honored as always to speak to Todd Starnes, of course, formerly of Fox News. These days you can see him on Newsmax. He's all over the place. Also owns a radio station in Memphis, KWAM Radio. Todd Starnes, how are you?
Dan Mandis, always great to hang out with you, sir, and congratulations on all of your great success. You guys are crushing it there at WTN.
Well, we certainly have fun. Let me ask you, you sent out a tweet last night or yesterday, and it wasn't surprising, yet it was shocking. You tweeted out that migrants were being flown directly into Memphis, and I didn't see a lot of follow-up on that. Can you give us the latest? Because, of course, here in Nashville, we know that migrants, if they're flown directly into Memphis, they're not going to stay in Memphis. They could come to Nashville and anywhere else in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's right. So yesterday morning, we received some information from a very reliable source within the Tennessee Republican Party that a plane load of illegals was heading towards Memphis, had taken off from LaGuardia yesterday morning. We know that the individuals were on board a smaller American Airlines jet that's run by Republican Air. We also understand that there were federal law enforcement officers on board the plane. There were actually people on board the plane that were texting our source within the Tennessee Republican Party. They landed here yesterday around mid-morning, and at that point, the airport and the airline will not say what happened to those individuals. We also reached out to Homeland Security. So folks are being sort of tight-lipped about this. We do know, Dan, that this has happened before, of course, in Chattanooga, where illegals were flown into the airport there in the dark of night. Those were much larger planes, and then they were loaded onto buses, and we don't know what happened to those individuals. But this does seem to fit the motive and the way the Biden administration has been moving these illegals across the nation and into red states.
It's got to be worrisome. I mean, we know all about migrant crime, specifically folks from Guatemala, but we have issues with migrant crime all across the country. Is Memphis prepared? First of all, do we know how many there were? It doesn't sound like we have a specific idea on how many there were.
We know, my source says about 20% of the people on board that plane were illegal. I would contend it's too dangerous for the illegals to come to Memphis, Tennessee. We're the most dangerous city in America. So for the love of God, keep them away.
Todd, it's funny because we were sort of joking on the air because you're from Memphis. I'm sure you have a particular fondness for Memphis, and I was actually openly asking, would it be out of line to ask Todd Starnes if, they gave him a toothbrush and bulletproof vests, when they found out that they're coming to Memphis. But you're right. I mean, it's a dangerous city. It's going to be made even more dangerous depending on who has gotten off that plane. Is there a way to find out who it is? I mean, who these folks are, where they're from, and their ages and their genders and all that other stuff?
We're working on it, and we're also working with, our sources within the Memphis Police Department to find out, and find out where these people are going. Typically, they would probably end up in an area over in the Summer Avenue area. People are familiar with Memphis. But to your point, I mean, it's just absolutely insane here, the level of crime and violence. The mayor is a radical progressive. Our district attorney is styled after George Soros. And, they've already want to raise our property rates 28% to pay for more midnight basketball, Dan Mandis.
Oh, no. Are you serious? Midnight basketball?
The mayor actually held a coffee meeting. I kid you not, held a coffee meeting with gang leaders. And they told the mayor asked them, what will it take for you to stop carjacking us and shooting us? And they said they wanted more activities at the community center and better jobs.
Wow. All right.
So now who knows? The illegals may be hanging out with the gang members doing goat yoga. We don't know.
Well, can you imagine all these guys, bonding over goat yoga? That's very funny. Well, so I guess the next step is find out who these, folks are. In the tweet, I think you said that the conditions on the plane were deplorable.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, several passengers that were bound for Memphis actually got off the plane, and that was the initial text we received. The individual on board the plane was saying that people were really sickened. Some people, apparently, I'm just reading this, apparently passengers were gagging from the smell on the plane. So that's, and again, I think that's bad in and of itself, but the broader issue is, how did illegals board, again, a jetliner? Many of them don't have the proper documentation when the average American has to stand in a TSA checkpoint and get manhandled every morning.
99.7 WTN. You've seen him on Newsmax these days. Todd Starnes is joining us, also owns a radio station in Memphis, KWAM. Todd, let me ask you about what is going on. I got to tell you, I was shocked when I saw what is going on with Graceland. And the stories are, the headlines are that it's, I guess, in foreclosure. This is the one place that I have yet to visit in Tennessee in my last 10 and a half years here. But what's going on with Graceland?
Well, first of all, I think we're dealing with a lot of really bad reporting, and people need to just take a breath. They're not hauling out furniture out of the jungle room just yet. So here's the deal. It looks as though we may have a serious case of fraud going on against the estate of the late Lisa Marie. Her daughter, Riley Keough, filed a lawsuit claiming this is all fraudulent. Now, there is this company, Dan, and they're claiming that Lisa Marie failed to repay a $3.8 million loan back in 2018. But here's the problem. The notary involved said this never happened. The attorneys representing the estate say this never happened. There is no actual information that anybody can find about the investment company that claims that they are owed all of this money. So right now, there's a lot of reporting out there. There is going to be an emergency court case tomorrow in Memphis to hear this. It is a non-judicial foreclosure, meaning this is not going through the judicial system. So we've still got. This thing stinks to high heavens. Sounds like somebody's out there, trying to fish for money off of the estate. But we're going to be all over this thing. And this all dropped over the past couple of days. I think caught a lot of people by surprise. Okay,
so $3.8 million. It seems to me Elvis Presley is still one of the biggest earners, I think, in music and in entertainment, even many, many years after his death. $3.8 million. I mean, even if this whole thing turns out to be fraudulent, from the Presley family and how it relates to Graceland, I mean, how much money is that to those folks? I mean, it's a lot of money to you and me, but to them, Elvis Presley is still making a ton of money, right? And does that money go to Graceland and the family?
A ton of money, and the entire, it's not just the house anymore. It's almost like Universal Studios Elvis land, and it is so phenomenal to go over there. They have big concerts. They have a large concert venue, so they have a lot of shows. They have a beautiful 4-star hotel that's opened up over there, the guest house at Graceland. So this is a major, and of course it is still the number one tourist destination in Memphis. So it's making a lot of money. So when I heard $3.8 million, I'm like, get out of here. There's no way. By the way, the guy that allegedly owns this company, he can't be found anywhere online.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds sketch to say the least. All right, I gotta know, Todd Starnes, you grew up in Memphis, and clearly the city has changed over the years. Why did you decide to go back to Memphis? I mean, I think it was still. When did you go back?
Yeah, so I moved back home in 2020. And the reason why is, this is where my family is. And okay. It was a blessing to work at Fox News, and I'm just shocked they kept me around as long as they did, almost 15 years. But when they didn't renew my contract, it just made a lot of sense. Came back here. The radio station happened to be for sale, and KWAM is a great heritage station. It's the very first station where Elvis played on the radio. Johnny Cash and B.B. King used to be PJs at KWAM many years ago. So it was kind of an honor to be able to buy that station and turn it into a locally owned, locally run news talk radio station. And, we're just having a good time out here. It's a lot of fun. We do radio just like you guys do it there in Nashville. And it's really all about the listeners and, telling those local and statewide stories.
All right. Todd Starnes, is always great to have you on. And just keep us updated on what's going on with these migrants. I would love to get an update from you from Memphis, and wish you the best of luck. And thanks for calling in to Super Talk 99.7 WTN.